Hey guys, Bowie here, and today we will talk about 7 heroes that are losing you MMR. But before we start this video, I'm here to tell you that we have a 50 subs goal on Twitch, and once that is hit, sub games will be a thing. If you're that type of guy, make sure to subscribe to my Twitch channel at twitch.com. Everyone has that friend. He likes to play support Kanka, Crystal Maiden Core, and you know, leave that friend be. Everyone needs dreams in this dark and rancid world we live on. Playing heroes on weird lanes is something hard to quantify in terms of win rate with the technology we have. But sometimes a hero, regardless of the position you play, is just bad no matter how you see it, and that's what I'm trying to do, tell you which heroes not to pick. And we will start with Medusa. The way I selected these heroes was comparing their Dota buff win rates, wink wink, maybe a partnership Dota buff, in ranked games with the win rate from pros at Dota 2 Pro Tracker. If both win rates were low, it probably means that neither your average pub player that plays against your average scrub, nor the best players out there are finding a way to make this hero work reliably, and Medusa is a clear example of that. Awful win rates across the board, and even when a great player like HFN is wielding her, it feels as if the hero lacks something. Yes, Medusa farms really well, but there's a lot of heroes that farm really well, and even when she's really farmed, things like this are common. Another factor with Medusa is that unlike many carries, you need a good lineup to Roche. So even when you're incredibly farmed, you struggle doing that, and you know, getting Aegis is a very important part nowadays on winning Dota. If you watch this fight, you can see that it's another one where Tro has Aegis and Medusa doesn't. Then you add the fact that Medusa is better playing in the mid position, and right now that role is all about creating space for a greedy carry. But if you play Medusa as a carry, she's really slow to farm because you need levels to start accelerating. She's a clear example of a hero that not only needs buffs, but has a terrible environment to work with. The nerfs to her mana power spike being at level 25 now also forces your team to buy even more time for you, and more often than not, the time is just not there. This hero is always on the up and down, and to be fair, his TI win rate was quite decent, but as I said, those players are the best Earth Spirit players the world can offer. And you know, you're in a scenario where you can actually ban more heroes and just tailor the game to a perfect pick, and there was not a lot of Earth Spirit picks on TI, to be fair. But if your objective is getting more MMR or learning a new hero, Earth Spirit is probably not the best hero for you right now. This is how the page from Dota 2 Pro Tracker looks like at the moment. This is crit playing Earth Spirit in one game. With the damage nerfs to rolling boulder, getting kills at level 1 is even harder than before, to the point he actually skills boulder smashing lane, since you get more damage in AoE, but that also means less roaming. You then add the unreliability of the hero even when playing at the highest level, and you have a recipe for a shaky start, and it feels like Earth Spirit really needs the best start possible to be useful in most games. When he has a bad early game, suddenly things become way harder to do, and he has nothing to fall back on. You don't want to go Midas on him, there's no GPM talent at level 10, and things snowball backwards. The slow start missing that kill doesn't give crit level 3, so he cannot silence the Necro, meaning he survives and crit dies, and it gets even worse. Anyways, Earth Spirit is definitely not the strongest hero right now, and unless you're really good with it, you should stay away from this boy. Now, Nature's Prophet is a fan favorite, iconic, global presence, and at the start I felt like his bad win rate was due to too many noobs and new players trying him out, but that's further from the truth. One of the biggest changes this hero had is the gigantic decrease in his treant's attack damage. The damage is still the same when you get to the 4th point of Nature's Call, but at level 1, the difference is a huge 33% decrease. With Stealth Shield blocking 20 damage now, most melee heroes can trade way better against them. It almost feels like they don't exist because 50% of the time the damage from the treant is pretty much zero. From very scary boys at level 1, they are now quite useless. While he got some other buffs, it feels like his early game is now way less menacing, and his utility as a support is probably way worse as well, since you're going to have those level 1 treants for way longer than a core. The fact that he is a farming offlaner also doesn't fit well with how the meta works. Without a BKB, this hero is not great in actual team fights, and they are really important at the moment. He felt that before maybe his split pushing was more menacing, but with towers having more HP and armor, shrines being a thing, this hero doesn't click as much as he used to. In this Blitzy replay, you can see that his team wanted to fight, but he didn't have TP ready, so he couldn't finish his Orchid in time and be there, but at the same time, he actually doesn't pressure the tower that much. When you look at popular heroes in this patch, your Kankas, Ogres, Svans, Alchemists, and Night Stalkers, they are rarely going to be easy kills even with Orchid. Look at how much they need to kill this guy, whereas heroes like Night Stalker, Enchantress, and Beastmaster seem to offer either more burst damage or other utilities that Nature's Prophet also doesn't have. what do you do when even Miracle cannot make this hero look awesome? Ice Rug is actually trying alongside him with buffs after buffs, but again, this hero is a similar case to Medusa, a mid hero that needs to farm, so you're already starting at a disadvantage, and then the fact that the only build that is apparently viable is Midas makes the hero even more sluggish and hard to execute. Kinda like Medusa, Sniper hates gap closers, and the meta is full of them right now, from Voids, Centaurs, Muranas, Night Stalkers, and even Gyrocopter. They all have effective ways of getting to you, and because the mid-game teamfights are so important, this hero just doesn't have the ability to be fully equipped to deal with them in time. When a fight seems to be brewing around the mid lane, note how Miracle doesn't even dare showing, trying to possibly join after the Chronosphere gets used, but they had vision mid, and they are one screen away from Miracle, but they just chase and force Miracle to submit. Sniper's win rate in 6k plus games is 30%, showcasing that there's clearly not only one problem with this dwarf. This is the type of hero that can only work as a 10th pick, but there's a very high likelihood that even in that scenario, there's a better meta hero for you to choose from. The next heroes we're going to talk about are maybe not as bad as these ones, but they're still across the board not even close from being the best heroes you can pick. Phantom Assassin is one of my favorite heroes, and yet quite the garbage can hero right now. Sumail has 2 losses with it recently, but since one of them he was actually 3-15, I'm going to use this other game where he finishes only 1-7. Oh, did I mention that he had a Magnus on his team playing with a 5-man stack, meaning he gets constantly empowered, and even still, it was not even close. One of the biggest weaknesses this hero has is his very poor laning stage. While you can get CS with your dagger, you're literally giving stick charges away while you deal no damage to the enemy, meaning you're already off when laning, and now they have a bigger advantage over you and can try and use that against you, and they definitely did against Sumail here. This hero only deals physical damage. Rubik is one of the most picked heroes in this patch, and when he fade bolts Miracle at level 1, his damage output literally gets reduced by 30%. Then you add the fact that Night Stalker has 800 HP and 34% physical damage reduction, meaning there's absolutely nothing Miracle can do in this lane besides farming, and that's never what you want as a carry. You're always as strong as the enemy offlaner is weaker, and then you add the fact that you're burstable and your laning stage can easily become a nightmare. That was the case in this game. You're forced out of your lane, but you're not ready to jungle, nor strong enough to gank, and yeah, it's rough. This hero is not bad per se, but a lot of his counters or heroes that are good in lane are super buffed at the moment, and it's really hard to find a game where you're going to be able to farm and get into a power spike that changes the game. This hero gets better the lower MMR you are, since people are way worse at pressuring and ending the game early, but even in lower MMRs, you can find carries with better win rates like Void, Spectre, Lycan, Drow, Lifestealer, and Bloodseeker. Now let's talk about Shadow Fiend. This is another fan favorite. People watch Miracle owning with this guy in one game and they suddenly think they can first pick Shadow Fiend in their pubs and win. And boy, they are wrong. This hero is equally terrible in all brackets, and while his 6k plus win rate is not awful, being around 46%, it's just clear you have a ton of different, easier, and better options for the mid-roll. This hero has a lot of nuance. Just watch Ramzes playing this hero for the first 2 minutes of the laning stage. He starts with several mangoes, he is forced to learn raise level 1 to not get denied in the lane, and while he's able to CS while he gets raise damage, look at the skill required for him to lane. He gets first blood, yes, but that costs him 200 gold in mangoes, which is pretty much the entire first blood bounty, and even with players like this guy running the hero, his 6k plus win rate is 46%. The Usurper build is famous for being the right answer for spellcaster types like your Tinkers and Storms, since you lack lockdown with the right-click SF, but because you rely so much in your level 25 power spike to truly become a god, your downtime with this combo is too long most of the time. While Ramzes took a good fight as you just saw, sometimes fights are really hard to execute. For instance, if he doesn't get to initiate on the Storm without BKB, Storm can always cancel the channel of Requiem and kill him, and if he even uses Usurper on someone else, he suddenly can't even show anymore. In this other Ramzes game, he transitions from the U-Scepter build into a right-click core. That was also not enough for him to win this game. For instance, the U-Scepter he went for is not necessarily great. There's no hero where the right-click combo is really good against, but since he's against a Night Stalker and a Kunkka, he's forced into it, slowing down the progression of his build. And then you look at the talents, and they are really meh. Ideally, if you want to have the strongest right-click SF, you would have to give up the spell amp, which actually helps you farm a lot, so you don't want to do that. Move speed is really good at any right-clicking core, yet it fucks with your ability to siege better, which is one big problem with right-click Shadowfiend or the non-right-click build. While this clip looks promising for Ramzes, you're soon going to change your mind. If we check the net worth, you can see that he's by far the most farmed hero in the game, but does he feel like the strongest hero in the game? They smoke with the absolute strongest power spike he was going to get in this game with a Daedalus coming in and level 25 talent, and while he kills the Night Stalker, his BKB ends up being used for disengaging purposes just because the hero struggles in manning up. He lives, but his entire team had to give their lives away, and the game just ends. Mars and Grimstroke are the two heroes we will finish the video with, and they are here because they're quite similar. They are the newest heroes to date, and naturally, they got nerfed a lot until reaching a point IceFrog was comfortable. I would say without a doubt that they are not OP anymore. They are balanced heroes, maybe, but clearly not the best heroes you can be playing. And they're not trash by any means, but they have really high pick rates because a lot of players are still just used to playing them. My job here is to explain why maybe you should look at some other awesome heroes the game has to offer. And we're going to start with Mars. One of the many reasons this hero was good in lane was his amazing damage coupled with great animation and slightly higher attack range than normal melee heroes. That seemed to be a problem, and IceFrog made sure to nerf 6 of that juicy damage. And now you can see that he feels more like a normal hero and not a last hit and deny machine. When the hero got released, people suddenly realized how good Vlad's was on him, and since all the components were cheap and amazing, you could get away with rushing the item after or during phase and Soul Ring. The hero was so good that you could be that greedy and not care about things. We live in other times. No headdress is required for it anymore, meaning there's a recipe so you don't get that HP regen in lane. You usually get a way rougher laning stage than before, and thus, if you go for Vlad's, your impact in the game is gonna get delayed quite a bit, but if you don't, suddenly you have HP regen problems, wave clear issues. The hero is by no means trash, but there are certainly better offlaners out there. Grimstroke was so broken when it got released. Everything about it was insane. Every skill, every hero, and every talent was amazing with Grimstroke. And don't get me wrong, there's still a lot going on for him, but it pains me to see the huge pick rate the hero gets in high MMR games compared to his win rate. We can clearly see how good Grimstroke can be in lane when you have the appropriate hero to pair it with. Melee heroes with stuns or good move speed can use Inkswell to great effect and win some lanes really hard. Sometimes Grimstroke is against a Storm or a Quap, and they also get crushed by his silence, but sometimes that's not the case and your hero can feel quite useless. This was one amazing game for Crit. He actually ends up being 6-2 at some point. He has early Vessel and Netherlands, but this hero struggles with some things even when he's farmed. In summary, don't spam these heroes, and if you're good at them, pick them when you really think this is going to have an impact. Guys, thank you very much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I have a big surprise for you guys. My Patreon has been completely revamped, and now I'm offering you a chance for you guys to learn Dota with me and with each other in what I jokingly call Bowie's Institute for Low MMR players. The idea here is that we will have classes 2 days a week with themes, presentations from other esports people. There will be a video being more specific about everything, but I really urge you guys to check it out in case you want to help this channel grow, but also grow yourselves as Dota players. As always, remember to follow me on all social media if you want to keep up to date with everything that's happening. And I think that's it, guys. Thank you very much for being here. Bye.